My belief is that we have to stay focused on a military that's so lethal that on the battlefield it will be the enemy's longest day and their worst day.
What is the best possible thing we can do for somebody who's on government assistance?
Get them off of it.
And what do you consider the greatest threat to the United States of America?
The threat from terrorism as it extends into the homeland.
The Office of the Inspector General is investigating whether FBI Director James Comey broke the rules.
It looks as if the Democrats, on their way out the door, are trying to leave behind as many landmines as they can.
Joe, for your faith in your fellow Americans and for your lifetime of service, I am pleased to award our nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
And he had no idea that medal was coming. No. He had no idea. They thought he was just going to be a goodbye and maybe how great he was. He knew something was coming, but clearly moved by that moment.
An emotional moment, yeah. He's had a tough, last year and a half, lost his son, and now he's saying goodbye to the White House.
Right, and the friendship between those two is absolutely
It seemed real, which is extraordinary in that job when you look at the presidents who did not get along with the vice presidents. Speaking of presidents, we're going to have a new one 1 week from today, but I'll tell you, aside from some of those hearing things we just showed you, and we're going to talk about it today, it was a weird day on Capitol Hill. You know, during the Pompeo hearing, they were talking about Russian influence, Mark Warner was, and then suddenly the lights went out in the hearing room, and then over on C-SPAN, they were talking about Russia. Boom! Once again, what happens? It's replaced by Russia Today.
That is unexplainable as far as I'm concerned.
It's like a router thing.
What is going on
What
here?
is going on?
I'll put it this way. I can't get RIT, whatever is it called?
RT.
RT. I cannot get that even with my rabbit ears and tinfoil at my house.
Try a coat hanger.
Yeah, but it pops into that, it pops into Capitol Hill. You got to be kidding me. And then all of a sudden it comes down that James Comey once again is in the eye of the storm as the Justice Department inspector decides, I'm going to look at the handling of the private server investigation by James Comey.
We are a week away from the inauguration, and many are saying that this is the Democrats' attempt to debunk the election, to discredit Donald Trump. They're saying the reason is James Comey came out and he held that press conference and he condemned Hillary Clinton, and then at the very end he did not indict. So they're saying...
So that got Republicans upset.
They're questioning his behavior. That got Republicans upset. Then, and the Democrats were praising him. Remember Nancy Pelosi?
He's a great man.
Guy.
I want my kids to grow up to be like him.
Then, like a week before the election, not even that, he decided, James Comey, to reopen the investigation, and then he decided to close the investigation, and many people are saying he lost the election for Hillary Clinton.
Of course, look, of course, they're talking about the private server, which she set up. So how could that possibly be James Comey's problem? But there's more to it than just that. Remember before the election, we were talking about the Deputy FBI Director, Andrew McCabe, whose wife got $500,000 from Terry McAuliffe's super PAC when she was running for state senator down in Virginia. They're going to look at that to make sure that that was above board. Plus, there was that guy, Peter Kadzik, who was John Podesta's roommate. He's at the Department of Justice as well, and apparently he leaked some information about an ongoing FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request regarding Hillary's email server. Okay, so they're looking at that too. But the headline is, oh, they're looking into Comey. You know what? Dr. Charles Krauthammer thinks he knows what it's all about. Here's what he said.
It looks as if the Democrats, on their way out the door, are trying to leave behind as many landmines as they can to at least cast doubts on the legitimacy of the Trump victory. I'm not sure this is the best way to assure a good transition, one where you transfer not just the authority of office, but the legitimacy. But that seems to be what the Democrats want to do as they get out of power.
In a way, it's working, because if you look at the immediate approval ratings, when Donald Trump won, he got the boost. And now Quinnipiac does another look after all this controversy from the electoral system being the wrong system, from fake news really giving the election to him, to Russia hacks the reason, now the Comey investigation, and now we spend all this sparring. So now the approval ratings of Donald Trump, not only is the honeymoon only lasted about 8 minutes, now all of a sudden his ratings are down to where they were right before the election, which, by the way, he won convincingly. So if you look at all these things together, it's a concerted effort, one after another, from the recount on down, to take Donald Trump and make him illegitimate if indeed he does get to the White House, which I believe he's going to get to next week. It's unbelievably un-American.
Right. What do you think about that? Send us your comments. I mean, we are a week away from the inauguration. Do people really even care about this? This is something that America dealt with months ago.
It's just time. Look, it's time to move on. The Democrats have had a million excuses. Get over it. He won fair and square.
I'll just bring up one more thing. James Comey does the investigation into Hillary Clinton. Fine. That affects the election, affects the nomination. The emails come out. They reveal the DNC is in cahoots with Hillary Clinton to make sure Bernie Sanders doesn't get the election. That is something that was exposed. It wasn't doctored. It isn't fake. Now, what about the Billy Bush tape? How did that affect the election? Who leaked that out? You know, who leaked out Donald Trump's tax returns? How is that fair? That is called the process. Things come up, people come out, people jump sides, more evidence comes forward. That is part of it. The Russian hacks are the last thing, but it revealed what was going on with the nominee that was about to get the most important job in the world.
I'm glad you bring that up, because after the Billy Bush tapes came out, Donald Trump wasn't blaming Billy Bush. He wasn't blaming some person who was filming that, right, or recording them. Hillary Clinton is blaming everyone else, and she's responsible for the email server. Donald Trump came out, he apologized to his wife, he apologized to the American people.
And then
he
said
had
the debate of his life.
Exactly. And then he wins the election. But Hillary Clinton is blaming everyone else. Blaming James Comey, you bring up a good point. She's the one that did this. She had the private server.
Look, a win is a win. Trump won. Let's move on. And when you look at the people who he has nominated to make up his cabinet, they are great Americans. You got Dr. Ben Carson at HUD. Got some crazy questions yesterday. We're going to play some of those for you. Also, Mad Dog Mattis, he got the waiver from the Senate overwhelmingly, so he will most probably be our next defense secretary. And Mike Pompeo, the guy who is Donald Trump's pick to run the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, who was first at his class at West Point and at Harvard Business, or rather Harvard Law, he did a really good job as well. He's a really smart guy. And essentially what he said was, yes, Russia hacked us. No, he won't bring back enhanced interrogation. And both Mattis and Pompeo as well said they're going to get tough with Russia. Watch this.
I think it's under the biggest attack since World War II, sir, and that's from Russia, from terrorist groups, and with what China is doing in the South China Sea.
I can tell you it is going to require an incredibly robust American response. A response that is a security-related response, that is, we have to get better at defending against these, and then a response that holds actors accountable who commit these kind of actions against the United States of America.
If you look at what the New York Times is, they say, look at Mike Pompeo, look at General Mattis, look at General Kelly. They disagree with the president-elect of the United States. No. The president of the United States has positions on things. He says, what if we get along with Russia? Doesn't mean he's pro-Russia. He says the Iranian deal is a bad deal. He never says he's walking away from it. You have three people with 40 to 50 years of experience. They're answering the questions honestly. By the way, Colin Powell and Donald Rumsfeld didn't see eye to eye. The current president of the United States went through 4 Secretary of Defense. It's not a big deal that everybody doesn't sing from the same hymn sheet. They're giving honest answers about their years of experience. Together, they will make this president better. That's the question. If they all think the same thing, they have to be related somehow to each other or have memorized answers, which is not the point of this confirmation.
You know, every time we watch these confirmation hearings, there's always one senator who is trying to get that gotcha question in there. It might not have anything to do with it, or you might say, really? Why are you asking that question? Right. We've seen that several times over the last week, and yesterday was no different. You had Kirsten Gillibrand trying to ask a question to Mad Dog Mattis, and listen to his response. It's pretty strong.
Do you believe that openly serving homosexuals along with women in combat units is undermining our force?
Senator, my belief is that we have to stay focused on a military that's so lethal that on the battlefield it will be the enemy's longest day and their worst day when they run into that force.
That's the way he answered that question. There was one other extraordinary question, and that was from the new senator from the great state of California. Kamala Harris asked Mike Pompeo, Okay, he's going to run the CIA. Ask him about climate change. Now, maybe she thinks the C in CIA stands for climate, but it doesn't. It stands for Central.
Well, that was exactly the question to Rex Tillerson over and over again. What about climate change, as he wants to become Secretary of State, and your vision of the world, what our role should be in the Paris Agreement? He's like, wait a second. Climate change is an issue, but we can't be the only one fighting for it, especially when it circumvents our defense. The hardest